I kind of want to stream to my audience, but the setup looks daunting.
It should have been just like an automatic login or something.
I wish it was. I tried to log in with Google. It was like, nah, bro, we don't know you. You got to create a new account. This is like.
All right, Sports Sushi's back. Got a couple fill-ins this week. We've got our guest David Coyle, who popped out and will be back in apparently. My boy Roemello's sitting in for Sterling here. Our topic this week is going to be activism in sports. Sports Sushi is presented by Gratwick. You haven't checked out the Gratwick newsletter yet, go to gratwick.co and check out our newsletter there. Sign up for it. Free book coming. Gratcast is back. Most recent episode was this past week. Find Gratcast where all your podcasts are. We're officially live on millions.co. Have either one of you guys ever heard of Millions, the platform?
I have not, but it sounds like something I want to be a part of.
It's a social media platform specifically for sports and athletes. And they came and found us. I had a call with them this morning, and they asked us to start broadcasting the sports shows on their platform. So this is my first go round with it, but I think it'd be right up your alley, Dave. Like it's all sports podcasts. It's all like direct relationships and like the athletes are basically the influencers and the stars of the platform, and everything's around sports betting and points and people.
That is right on my alley.
So this is the second of 10 episodes of Sports Sushi that'll have 10 different guests talking about 10 different topics. This week we've got David Coyle with us. He's a community leader, former player, and real estate broker. Is that fair to say, Dave?
Yeah, broker. I'm also doing commercial construction too.
Hey.
From New York City with the hat, right?
H-Town, baby, Houston, Texas.
And we've got Roemello Nelson, actor, entrepreneur, Los Angeles kindred spirit, originally from Philadelphia. Roemello, thanks for sitting in.
Appreciate it. Make sure you throw my social security number in there.
You were supposed to fill that out in the box that would appear on screen throughout the show.
Oh, man. All right, give me a second.
Boy, Philly had a rough night, boy.
Hey, man, I don't want to talk about it, man. Listen, I can't want to talk about it, man.
I mean, Buffalo put the blueprint out there, and everybody beat them up afterwards.
No, you know what it is? Go ahead, I'll let you.
No. Get your.
I was just gonna say, you know what it is I think the problem is, man, is you can't prejudge based off of stats. You got to look at situational stats. I think the stats don't really reflect situations. I think that like the basketball league, they started adding like points that led or assists that led to points, right? Or something like that. So it's like how you transition, but basically just more in-depth statistics. So you talking about like, oh, they put up this many yards, this many catches. It's like, yeah, but against who? Because when you talking averages now look crazy because they had 500 yards this game, 35 yards this game, and they averaging between that they're like 250. So it's like you can't call averages. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm
gonna follow up on that here because I've been talking about this a little bit recently too. People are too obsessed with regular season these days, and I think it's these fucking these participation trophy generations are just happy with regular season wins. Like, oh, we made the playoffs, we won our 10 games. The standard has been lowered to just beating up on cupcakes in leagues that are full of like 60% shitty teams, so everyone's getting fat on the bottom feeders, and then you're overinflated. And once you start running against each other and start having actual, real, meaningful competition, now you start, seeing the Tuas from the Josh Allens.
Eagle fell apart, man. Hey, now listen, Tua. All right, that Kansas City game don't count, and it's not even on a pro tour. It's just more like it was just cold. Shit, I couldn't play if it was cold. I'm sorry, I don't care. Name it's cold as shit.
Soft. So, all right,
you from Philly? Stop.
I don't want to dive too far down the current events.
Listen,
we're gonna set up the main topic for this evening, which is activism in sports. And what this really comes down to is activism in sports has a long tradition and history that is intertwined throughout the Olympics, all of the leagues. It's been there all along, but in recent years, and off and on throughout the years, there's always been the shut up and play crowd. We don't want to hear what you got to say. You're here to entertain us. You guys are the court jesters. We don't need your opinions. And these are usually coming from plumbers and mechanics. Where now we're going to throw it to Dave first as the title guest for the evening. Do you have any experience with activism in sports in your own history of playing within the game, and what is to you?
A little bit. It's funny. I have a really kind of a story. I have a client who is a very close friend of mine, but he's also my client. He's an NFL receiver. I'm not going to drop him, but he left our team and our city a little abruptly, basically based on a political decision that the Texans owner had made, right? And he had endorsed some characters. Maybe they have a tan, maybe they don't. The reality is that he made a decision. He was like, "Yo, I'm not going for the bigotry," to put it lightly. And he decided to leave. And the way the media portrayed him as he exited, right? Because he didn't want to. In that type of situation, you can't necessarily announce, "Yo, I'm leaving because of X, Y political choices or political reasons." Mm-hmm. And so he felt obligated to just kind of suffer in silence, right? And just kind of, but I knew as a friend, as a professional, I knew why he was leaving. I understood it. I understood the reasons. But it's really tough. I feel like when athletes get in this spotlight, they have only a few choices and roads that they can really go on to really kind of highlight their role or their position. And people think that it's all sweet, but it is not all sweet.
So where do you fall on the decision? I mean, if you've got a contract and a multi-million-dollar career and job, regardless of the industry and what it is, and you disagree with, now, is it the organization or is it just the owner of the organization? How do you feel? Is that a righteous reason, or should he have?
One of the things that he shared with me though is that he said, when he first came into the league, he had an understanding that this family that owned the Texans was a certain way, right? And when you're young and you're coming in, give me the check, right? Like cut the check. But I think as you grow, especially with money, let me say this, my boy, when I first met him, he was one way. By the time we had met and he was like 28 and he had millions for 6 years of his life, you take a different perspective, right? It's a different stance. As you grow mentally, emotionally, politically, as you kind of get more of your own ideals and your own platform and your own voice, I think you tend to take less crap, if I'm just being honest with you. So me personally, get your money, young man, and then once you get a little money behind you, I think you can have more freedom to kind of make more decisions, but you got to get paid first. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. You got to get paid first.
Roemello, do you agree with walking away from a multi-million-dollar contract because of your political differences with the employer, or do you take the money?
I mean, if something compels you to walk away from it, walk away from it. Yeah, I don't, if it's for you, it's for you. It's gonna come. Like, it depends on what you, and also like, you can walk away from 15 million and come back on your integrity and get 30 because somebody rock with your integrity, and then you can stick with 15 million and get hold out for 5 million because somebody saw what you less like. It's I just say be you, and whatever's gonna come with it's gonna come with it. I personally would keep it. I mean, I think Just because it don't got nothing to do with me, unless he outright saying some wild stuff, then that's a conversation. I don't know the depth of this. That's what I'm saying. I don't know the depth of, you know what I mean? Yeah. If you out there, you just coming out like, yeah, so these boys, then I'm like,
hold on. That's remember. I don't know if you remember. It was back when old boy was like, these slaves starting to take over the slave farm, or they started to take over.
Yeah, I'm out, bro.
Bro. See, when you
integrity is everything.
You're talking like that in public.
Yeah, integrity is everything.
You get to talking like that in public, bro. You know, it really starts to leave a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you're in the negotiation phase. So he was in a contract year, and owner get to cash money talking. It's like, wait a minute, hold on now.
So let's get to the big question right off the get go. Does activism have a place on the field?
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling, bro?
One more time.
Does activism have a place on the field?
Sorry, I was losing. Wi-Fi was going out. It depends. Like, just play football. like, hear me out.
Just shut up and play ball.
No. But to a degree, like at the end of the day, like, all right, y'all saying on the field, but then y'all be talking to people off the field and be like, man, shut up and ball. And it's like, nah, nigga, I clocked out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like, no,
right,
clocked out. Right. Like, it's like, if we talking and you, like the LeBron thing, it's like, yeah, shut up and it's like, I'm not. Listen, LeBron got his opinions, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But even then, he's allowed to have those opinions. And if you ask me about something off the court, I'm not coming on the court with a big old T-shirt on and say, yeah, these are my opinions and da-da-da on your TV. We in a press conference, and you asked me a question. Or you didn't ask me a question. When you ask me certain, because they do that too. They'll ask you certain questions. How do you feel about this? Ask me the other side too. Yeah. I don't like one-sided political situations. That's my thing. I don't want nothing one-sided.
Bro, I got a time in here. Yo, I always feel like it's unfair. And I feel like, now I'm gonna say this, I feel like the black athlete in particular is held to a different standard. Right? Because there's so much pressure on us to perform in a different way, to act a certain way or be a certain way or carry ourselves in a certain way, that I kind of feel like we do have a higher burden, shall I speak, to kind of have this more responsibility in how we carry ourselves. Absolutely. I don't think it's right. Look, I'm not saying it's cool. I'm not saying it's fair. I don't think it's right. But, I do feel like we can't just shut up and ball. We actually have to take that platform and use that voice because we normally don't have it. We don't get it. Yeah. It doesn't come as easy for us as it would be for, somebody born into it or somebody that has more of a platform kind of built in. And so look, I feel like, you see cats like, call it out, one of my favorite, Deion Sanders, right? And he's a man of God, a man of honor. He don't curse much. You ain't never heard about him sleeping around. He's always been a great dad to his kids. Always been about family. I feel like you see those examples, and I feel like he has to be that way because but even with a cat like him, I feel like there's still things that people talk about him. So I feel like they're gonna talk about you regardless. You might as well try to stand up and present. And I personally feel like for our race in particular, we almost have to, which sucks. I don't think, don't get me wrong. I don't think we should have to. I believe that, I should be able to go out and do whatever I want to do. If I want to go out and, hit the town, get drunk, get wasted, I should be able to do whatever I want. I don't think that's necessarily the case. You look at Ja Morant and some of the things that he's done and kind of how the public has kind of crucified him because of those things. I'm in Texas, bro. Everybody has a gun. I got a gun on me right now. No, I got a gun on me right now.
I'm just playing. Stand up and just fall out. Oh, my fault.
Yeah, but how good are you at spinning it?
No, but
not that good. Not that good. We don't spin them around here.
But
the reality of it is, though, he's in a state where concealed carry is a thing. I honestly don't understand how everybody persecuted this young man because he had a firearm. We teach firearm safety around here.
Yeah. I'm with you on that too. And it's also, that's why I said, like, if we talking about on the court, like, he ain't bringing no guns on the court.
Ever.
What are we talking about?
He ain't never done
He
that.
ain't shoot nobody, and he ain't running around flashing it like, yeah, what y'all doing today? So
But he is flashing it though.
no, but I'm talking about branded. Sorry, not brandishing. He ain't brandishing the gun. If you're just looking at your guns, you want to say up close and personal on live video feed camera, that's your business.
Bro, you should rock your. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get demonetized. I want to get your boy demonetized.
Yeah, if you want, look, I just got this. This is my little clack. It's my little, you know what I'm saying? And then, as long as you're being safe. Now, if he go point at an old lady and he like, hey, is you scared? Then now that's the conversation. I feel like that's different.
So Morant's not really what I would consider an activist within the scenario of this. Like, his cause is more personal motivations and enjoyment of life than social causes. But I don't understand why people are surprised when this stuff takes place on the field. And now I think human gestures are far more powerful than snappy slogans on the back of helmets and end zones. But like, you go back throughout history and like throughout the Olympics, there's been statements made on the podium. The Black Power was held up by 2 of the 3 athletes that won medals in 1968 Olympics. Dude, one of the original, like as far back as I know, is modern history. Activism on the field of play would be Jesse Owens and basically the fuck you to Hitler.
When it's genuine and symbolic, it's genuine, right? And when it is. So that's why you still talk about the Jesse Owens and stuff like that. The problem is now we're getting funded and prepaid activism, and I think that's when a lot of things get lost.
Coming everywhere.
Yeah, when you start making up the theater about it, I think that's when a lot of the message gets lost. When it's something genuine, I feel the fits because y'all wasn't trying to let us in here. And when I was in here, they was calling me a monkey when I walked out and all this other stuff. And that's genuine. That became symbolic for something. That's one thing. But when you, like you said, on the back of the helmets and there's MLK Day and there's all that, that's cool. If you just want to just celebrate it and make it celebratory, that's one thing. But activism and symbolism are 2 different things. That's all. And I think that a lot of times activists get fed symbolism and sadly settle for it. But me personally,
I think one of the things that's completely lost is why sports. Some people have this whole, well, sports should be off limits. It's escapism. It's a form of entertainment to get away from all the social ills of the world. And why do you have to interrupt that with your social messages? And the reality of that's exactly why you have to bring it there, because you're trying to escape and look the other way from the things that are going on and the issues that are there. So if I'm trying to get this in front of your eyeballs, where else am I going to go? But then where you're looking away from it. That's the whole point of making the statement in the first place. And I'll turn this over to you guys in a second. But the thing that drives me nuts all the time, and I've experienced this. I know, white dude, fucking, but even just coming from my own small town and what I've tried to do, everyone, oh, don't forget where you came from. Oh, don't forget where you came from. But where you came from doesn't give a fuck about you until you become somebody and you can do something for where you came from in a lot of cases. But then once you do, now you're an entitled asshole. And everyone wants to villainize you for, oh, you're getting paid millions of dollars and you want to complain about what's going on in the world and all of that. You've got it better than everybody. Who the hell else is supposed to complain? I got the platform. I got the eyeballs. You told me to climb over the fucking wall and throw the rope back for other people. This is what you say you wanted. This is what you're telling heroes to do. And now everyone wants to shit on the guy that actually does take his platform, walks out in the field and says, I'll take the fucking heat and say what everybody wants to say, but you're not going to listen to. Like, I don't understand the catch-22 of that scenario and how people are surprised by it.
Marketing.
So it's cool if you got a good marketing team, but if not, fuck you. Is that basically?
It's prepaid. It's just prepaid. Like if they can get the press too, because if you go out with a genuine message and it blows up, the press will say, "Oh, why did you do that here?" and they'll amplify all the negative voices. Like I just feel like for everything that happens, there's an equal and opposite reaction to it. So you got a positive, you got a negative. So somebody's gonna like it, somebody's not. And I feel like when you hear an amplified version of either side, it's usually just based on whatever medium you're listening through.
Well, and I feel like we can't forget the almighty dollar that goes along with that. You know, you brought up the '68 Olympics. One of the things that nobody ever talks about, was the heat that those two young men got from the U.S. Olympic Committee to try to strip them. I think the president was like bondage or whatever.
Mhm.
Yo, it was several athletes that Olympics that gave the Nazi salute. Several. And that was perfectly acceptable. And his excuse was that was acceptable because at the time that was the national German kind of salute. So the Hail Hitler Nazi salute was totally fine, but the power that represented, for peace and unity for all people, all of a sudden that's a problem. And he fought hard. He tried to take those young men's medals. Matter of fact, I think he took them and they had to give them back. And me personally, I just felt like that was a perfect example of how capitalism kind of won because Brundage, we now know that he was like in bed with Hitler. He loved Germany.
A lot of people were,
and got a lot of funding. And so those type of things to me, I feel like it's not unheard of. Anytime I think about this process, I think about Colin Kaepernick. And how Colin Kaepernick just so happened to stand up at a time right when the whole kind of I can't breathe, Black Lives Matter, all of that stuff, right? Which to me, by the way, on the side note, is all propaganda. I feel like all of those processes are just money grabs, right? They don't really have
the message, and
man, I feel like the message is lost in the commercial and the capitalism. But that's a different story, different conversation, different topic, right?
I mean, no, but it's this one though, because we saying the exact same thing. Is like it's real when it's real, but when it's when you take it and put $1 behind it, it's nasty. It's nasty. It's a little.
If you have to say Black Lives Matter, you're already saying they don't matter. Is really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, but Chris, that's exactly what we're saying. We're saying that in the eyes of a different person, in the eyes of other people, they do not believe our lives are as equitable or valuable as others. And so, I love how you said it point blank. That's exactly what we're saying. We're saying that to you, not you personally. Well, maybe you, but we're saying to you, you don't believe that our lives matter in a way. So we gotta tell you, we gotta remind you, yo, bruh, I'm valuable to somebody. I'm somebody's brother. I'm somebody's husband. I'm somebody's dad, and I matter, right? So don't think to yourself, oh, I see him and I just see fear, or I see, I'm afraid. Understand that my life matters. Now, hold on, I got to get back to Kaepernick for a second here because people always make it a big deal that Colin grew up in like a middle class, nice area, played baseball, was adopted by a white family. Everybody makes all the excuses of why this person, for some reason, couldn't advocate for things that matter or people that matter. And I always thought that action and say, listen, if that man wanted to stand up for people of any injustice, because in reality, it was more than just people of color. It was really people of any injustice, of any color, of any race. Yo, he let him do that. Like let him stand up. But again, it goes back to that conversation in sports, where sports are supposed to be innately sacred. And, you're supposed to root for your home team. I see my boy got the Bills hat on today. You're supposed to root for your home team. You're supposed to find solace and camaraderie, right? But it's also a platform. There's a reason why sporting events, there's almost always a streaker running up and down the goddamn field because he gets the attention that he wants. There's a shit ton of eyes on everybody that's involved in the sporting industry. There's a shit ton of branding money, marketing dollars.
And a lot of the players come from the very climate and nature that they're speaking about. They've come from there to where all the eyeballs are, and you expect them not to bring the message of where they come from and put that out there. That's just ridiculous.
Not in any situation, y'all go to those areas and cherry pick them. Talk about the racist part. Y'all go in there, motherfucker. Y'all go to areas.
Don't bring your message with you.
I want you. Okay, I want you. Okay, take your shirt off and turn around. Okay, yeah, you come on.
Yeah. How tall is Daquan?
Nobody wants to in sports.
Look at that jump.
It's all these dudes coming out of these neighborhoods on this team, right? But then they got to go and cherry pick. Oh, listen, we only got 2 positions left. One of them is definitely going to him, and then y'all two got to fight over this one.
I saw a dude analyze Max Crosby when he came out. Y'all know Crosby tatted, inked up. Like, bruh, crazy, right? And he has a persona that is a little bit more urban. I'll say that, you know. And they were saying like if you compare some of his charts to some of other people's scouting reports on other athletes who were inked up and black, it was like, you know, almost like it was like, oh, well, you know, we don't know if he'll be a good fit. He's not a good team player. Whereas Crosby came out, inked out. He talks abrasive. If you ever heard any one of his interviews, same way, but just two different kind of different colors, and it was, you know, a big deal. And so I feel like what we have to understand is just because we're in sports, it does not eliminate the stereotype. It may make it more bearable. It definitely makes it more palatable, but it does not eliminate some of the issues and stereotypes. And so if you can't ignore kind of how it affects people, I feel like allow these people to have a voice, white and black. I'm not just saying, you know, people that look like me. I'm saying Jeremy Lin Sanity, when he was here, the Asian. Yao Ming stood up. People don't realize how Yao Ming was an activist and that he stood for the Asian people and the Chinese people and kind of how they were treated about the shit that happened over in Hong Kong. So there's a ton of other activists and other races. I know we're kind of focusing on one that look like me, but there's a ton of other situations too.
Definitely, yeah. Around the world, definitely. Heavy.
So there's an interesting hypocrisy within the countries of these anyway. Everyone complains. We don't want to see it in the sports. We don't want that. Try to keep it out. You know, the government has toe in, toe out, and there's hypocrisy all over the place. But what's the first thing these countries try to do when they want to put pressure on the social decisions and choices of other countries? They start it's going to be the Olympics are going to be in Russia. We're not going because Russia's doing this, that, and the other thing, and we don't like it, so we're going to boycott the Olympics. And vice versa. When the Olympics are in China, China's doing these bad things, and it's all good and well. And there's never bad press for the country that's doing that. They're doing the right thing. The country putting pressure on them for doing the bad stuff, but then the individual does it, and they're always crucified by the establishment. The establishment always hates it. You're rocking the fucking status quo. Don't bring that stuff around here. Do you think the double standard ever goes away, or do you think it ever flips, or it's just always going to be obvious and blatant hypocrisy on those fronts?
You want to take it, Dave? Or you?
Yeah. I don't. I really don't. Look, if you look at, I think the heavyweight champion of the world, Usyk, when Russia attacked Ukraine, Usyk was the heavyweight champion of the world, right? Like, this is a major boxer, just like the Muhammad Ali situation. It did not get any press that Usyk went and fought on the fucking front lines. I want you to think about that for a second. Being the heavyweight champ of the world and on the front lines of the fight against Russia. Like,
didn't the brothers go back too? Weren't they like generals or some shit?
Yeah. Like, it's crazy. And so the president, the Ukrainian president, ended up pulling him out because he wanted to make more of a statement. He wanted to bring attention to it because it was such a polarizing figure, you know, and doing a polarizing thing. And so I feel like, yeah, like I say, the good press, you got to take it with the bad press as well. And you know, I feel like you can't ignore the fact that sports has a polarizing effect on all of us. And I feel like if you have the opportunity to stand up and vocalize something, I feel like you got to do that. You have a responsibility, a social responsibility to do that, to stand up and kind of stand out. I will say one thing though that I feel like nobody ever talks about when it comes to activism is mental health. Right. So I look at a cat like Antonio Brown, and he thinks himself an activist. He thinks himself something special, but the guy's, for lack of a better word, he's, to me, losing touch with reality. And so, you see a lot of those instances. I can think of just a few, like Simone Biles had her mental thing. Ricky Williams of recent, I remember when Ricky Williams just literally left football, right? He had some mental issues. Of course, you think of Junior Seau and some of his mental things that he had. He committed suicide. So, you got a lot of people that have these mental issues and capacities, and they felt like, in a lot of cases, Serena Williams was another one. They felt like they could not voice those to the public. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. These are people in mental duress, mental stress, that feel like they can't then express themselves in a way because they have to put on this personification of perfection. So that's another part of it I think nobody ever really touches on. Right? These people go through a extreme. When I tell you an extreme, they go through an extreme amount of stress. Like the amount of toxicity and stress that are on some of these athletes, professional athletes, college athletes, high school athletes. I'm in Texas. High school football is huge. You know, I never forget I was going to a high school game and saw one of my son's players. He was just fucking crying in the tunnel. And I couldn't tell if it was excitement or if it was really sad. I walked over to him. He was sad as shit.
Dog.
Bro was broken. He's like, bro, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm gonna go out here. I don't know what plays. I don't know. I'm like, bro, you got to calm down. But he was just broke. And I just thought to myself, yo, if I was a 16-year-old kid starting at quarterback, I don't, what do you do, right? So I feel like, you got to take into account the amount of stress these people are under and the load that it takes to be able to go out, perform. They got to have an opinion. You got to let them voice their opinions. You have to. Unfortunately, because it don't always work out.
Roemello?
Damn. Sorry. We went a couple directions there. I definitely forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, my bad, G.
So if we all agree that activism...
I got it. Sorry, I did want to throw something in there. You were talking about mental health. And I was going to say that I think that is important as far as the activism side of it. I also think that a lot of it's like, that's not sport. Like, that's not just sports. That's a branding. I think it's a branding thing. I think that everything now we think about image and branding, and this goes back into I clocked out, right? So when you get to this certain level, it's like you're not allowed to clock out, right? So if I don't know, I got into an argument with a family member and it got bad and neighbors called the cops and they came, but now I saw news that like me and the family member got into it and we got arrested or whatever. Me and the family member fine, we go home, it was a regular life, but now because we're a business and get blasted out, I got this thing and now I got a family problem and now I'm arguing. Now it's a brand damage. It's like this thing where you can't clock out. You know what I mean? And
right.
I think I think that it wouldn't be so bad about activism in sports if they weren't trying to over-tie you to the organization that you're working for.
Exactly.
And like I said, you cannot clock out. So at what point do I get to take this uniform? I got to take the uniform off, but I got the contract deal in my back.
But bro, that's why you make so much money, bro. You make so much more money because you work 24 hours a day. At the end of the day, you don't have the opportunity to clock out, but the average person ain't making $2 million a year. It's $800,000 a year.
But that takes us back to the beginning. So then do you just shut up and ball? Because I mean, at that point,
until you make enough money where you don't have to, just like us as regular people,
you invest in your therapy and all that. You know what I mean? You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it.
You're gonna need it for sure.
A big part of what you guys have brought up and talked about here is how the message is packaged, the branding behind it, all of that. So let me bring up a name here in the context of activism in sports, and each of you guys tell me: do you consider him an activist or antithetical to what an athlete activist should be? LeBron James.
Next question.
LeBron James is absolutely an activist, a philanthropist. He absolutely is an activist in sports, for sure.
I think
whether we like or agree with the message has no bearings on what he's actually doing.
I think LeBron is an actionivist, where his actions are probably a better dictator of his presence or what he's doing or what he believes. What he says is a lot of times just in alignment with the money.
I bring him up because I feel like he's at the nexus of all of the competing angles of I mean, you've got the most eyeballs on you. You're the best player in the league, so you're in a natural position to have the largest platform. But you're also in inevitably a no-win situation. No matter what you do, it's not going to be enough. No matter what you do, it's going to be too much. And then you're also one of the most brandable and marketable corporate assets that the entire league has. So now you're beholden to all of these different brands that are literally antithetical to half these movements, or the nemesis of a lot of these things. And then on top of that, you're now also expected to grow the game internationally with your superstardom and fame. So now you also have to play the game with fucking Chief Mao or freaking Chairman Mao, whatever the hell you want to call him, and now do right by the league's interest in China, but also have to be like, how can you be all of those things and not be
a lot of First Amendment limitations.
Yo,
elaborate.
Let's throw another name out there.
Yeah.
Yo, when I think about activism versus the anti-activism, like I think of a cat like Michael Phelps, right? So is Michael Phelps an activist to you?
I wouldn't call him an activist.
I don't know what he activized.
I mean, other than like maybe legal weed.
Okay, right. Okay, so y'all both say no, he's not an activist.
Well, I don't.
I mean, he's probably on the legalized weed.
I don't know. I'm not
trained
on that.
But I don't know any.
So why wouldn't he be? So is it because he's not in Space Jam or movies? Like, why is he not an activist? Because he absolutely changed the way we look at athletes and substance abuse. I mean, the dude was set on a panel.
Well, you don't identify him by any specific particular cause.
Yeah, you do. He was the fucking gold medalist who had a problem with substance abuse. He was like literally.
But as soon as you had that, what I could have.
Now you're identifying him.
Because here's my thing. Because then it's even privileged for you to have that argument.
Why?
Because all right, if you got caught with your gold medals smoking weed or substance abuse, you think you would have sat on the panel?
Not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But
No.
so I appreciate you using your position, but that sounds more like a cover than a fight.
But that's what LeBron's doing. Yo, at the end, if LeBron didn't win fucking 3 championships, you wouldn't think of him as an activist.
I disagree with you. Like I just said, I think his activism and what he does, the schools, the philanthropy, to this, to that, to that. I think that when it comes to any type of verbal anything or him standing out is always connected to a check or a contract, which it is what it is.
Right or wrong, LeBron's outspoken. I don't really know anything Michael Phelps is outspoken about. Like nothing that
outspoken.
Here's what I've always taken from it. You don't have to be loud to be an activist, right? I think a lot of us, we get confused and we say to ourselves, you know, the loudest one in the room, oh, that's the one. Yo, you can stand up for and against something and be just as loud, I think, as the next man as far as his vocalist. So just because you ain't heard nothing from him don't mean, you know. I feel like
you don't have to be loud to be associated with something. But he's not. If you're so silent that nobody knows you're associated with something, you're kind of missing the act in the activism.
I think you could ride a fence in neutrality a little too hard. But I mean, that goes back to what we were just talking about it being a business decision.
Yeah.
But that's so stepping out of that, I would say that's what makes you the activist hero, is when you're willing to take that chance. Like Ali being like, hey, yo, y'all can call me my name. There's Ali, that cash stuff is dead. Or
let me give you guys a better example here. So if there was a Black Lives Matter rally, and I'm not right around, we're not getting into the politics of it, and you heard that LeBron was leading the march, would you be surprised?
I would, yeah.
You'd be surprised if he was leading the Black Lives Matter rally?
Yeah,
because we don't believe in Black Lives Matter, fool.
Not you guys, but if you heard that LeBron was there, I mean, would that really be out of character or shocking?
Yeah, I think that would break that neutral zone I just talked about.
I don't think he's in the neutral zone, because where I was going is like I was just trying to be that nobody would be a surprise that he's associated with. versus like Michael Phelps. If you told me he was at throw a dart at a random social cause, and you told me he was at the rally, I'm like, it could just be as that one or any other one. I don't fucking know because I don't know anything about him in that way because I don't think he's acted. Where LeBron's been outspoken to a point where I can pretty much feel like I got a good sense for the things that LeBron might be.
That means that his branding and marketing is going very well.
Yeah,
that's all that means, though. That doesn't mean he's any more active or less
actively
active.
branding and marketing his ism.
His PR is up there. If you feel that way, listen, you feel like he'll go to a rally, and we know damn well he ain't going. And there's people who look like you but feel the opposite. They're like, there's no way LeBron's gonna go to a Black Lives Matter. And we know he not going because he ain't gonna fuck the money up. Y'all can argue about what y'all want to argue about.
Are you telling me that there's no pro Black Lives Matter tweets on LeBron's freaking Twitter? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
Not without a check attached to it, and not without a neutrality context clue under it.
Right.
These are the thoughts of the network.
Are you guys going to sit here and tell me you also don't think LeBron is beholden to China?
You can't be both. How you both?
Both what?
How you beholden to China and pro all the movements?
But that's why I brought up LeBron, is because I think his very existence is like a competing extremes trying to please all these different groups. Is he actually an activist or is he just a whore?
When you get to a certain height, you don't have much room for you to blow. If the wind blows and you're at the top of this mountain and you standing on one foot, you don't have much room for that. So when you talk about people who at the bottom who got a lot more footing to be like, yeah, F this, F that, this how I feel, that's one thing. When you all the way at the top.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about.
You're not going to say nothing.
When the establishment tries to brand itself as the anti-establishment.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. I'm gonna say this. Yes, you probably going with the PR. I would say he's
so you guys, I feel like, in a generic sense, you guys don't think that the establishment repackages itself as the anti-establishment to recapture the next movement?
You gotta simplify that question, big dog. I ain't go with you.
That's crazy.
You got it.
Okay.
No, I understood it, but it was long. You gotta bring it.
You don't think?
All right, the same question. Yeah. I do understand that they repeat it and they pretty much buy out the rebel. Yes, I do understand that. But what I'm saying,
they repackage themselves as the little guy. Like, we're the little guy. Oh, fuck those big guys, because they know everybody doesn't like the big guys anymore. So the big guy tries to come up with a little sub brand. Like, Acura's not Honda.
He doesn't talk. We're in the activism is in the actions. Let me start a school. Let me give money to this. Let me donate to this building, keep this building open, make sure these kids eat, make sure these people go to school. These are my act because I know that they're going to be able to do something when they get to a better position. I just can't mess it up right now.
Guys, I think we're focusing way too much on activism as a popularity contest. If you speak about guys like LeBron James is at the top of his career, at the top of his profession, and he plays for LA. Bro, you can't get more commercialized than that, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like to me, though, the conversation needs to stop being that, because to me, there's more to activism than popularity. A perfect example is this podcast, right? So if you look at this podcast in the rank of other podcasts, they're going to talk about other shit. But the reality of it is that, we spend some real shit right here on this podcast. And so are you going to say that this is not a movement just because a million eyes ain't on it? That's crazy. The reality is activism at its core is, like you said, the act of action. Right now, we're on the podcast taking action. So don't say it ain't activism because it ain't got a million eyes on it. The reality of it is, if a person is actively trying to push a narrative, any narrative, not just the ones we like or dislike, it's activism. And that's what I'm saying. My man Michael Phelps was like, I used meth before. My mind was
I ain't know he's in there. That's insane.
I didn't catch that one.
Fucking gold medalists using meth is crazy. That's crazy. So I'm just saying, I feel like, and he really was standing up like, look, it's substance abuse all through sports. We got to get with it. Boys use coke. Boys use weed. Boys were swimming. He said boys were swimming on Adderall. Like, I'm just saying, like, to me, that's activism. Now, is it activism that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside? Nah, it ain't that. It ain't that.
That's what it is.
But having a real conversation, I think there was on the I Am Athlete podcast, a big sports podcast. There was I can't think of his name right now. For the power forward for the LaMarcus Aldridge, power forward for the San Antonio Spurs. He talked about how he used this drug. Don't give me the line, but it was some type of drug like that you shoot up when you're in pain and you go back and play. Whatever that drug was, I can't remember what it was. But he was talking about it. He was like, "Yo, that I used to get juiced up on that shit. I got addicted to it, and apparently it messes with your bowels." He was like, "Yo, I used to take that shit, play like a madman, and then after the game, I shit for like hours." He was like, "Yo, I literally would be on the toilet for hours." Right. Jeez. And he was having a real live conversation about how that drug affected him, how it affected the rest of his life, how he's older now and his kidneys are fucking ruined, right? Because of the decisions he made. You can't tell me that's not activism, right? Like that to me is still a message he's sending out to help people.
But you connect that message to him because he pushed it, he put it out there. And that's what I'm saying is right. is there's certain messages that maybe I got some of them wrong, but that LeBron is actively pushed out there.
Give me another name. Give me another name.
Yeah, we got to.
I'll give you a complete opposite end of the spectrum example here, as far as like when the anti-establishment then gets so big and so mainstream that they become the establishment, and I think lose all credibility. Are you guys familiar with Rage Against the Machine? The rock band?
Give me another name here. Let's keep circling.
So their entire artistic identity was about raging against the machine. Literally, the machine being the government, the establishment. Fuck the establishment. One of their choruses of their song is "Don't do what they tell you. Don't do what they tell you." Freaking all of this stuff.
We're not gonna take it.
But they another one of their some of those who burn crosses are the same that wear badges. Freaking like they were all on freaking the anti-establishment wagon. Mm-hmm. Now they're in their 50s, 60s, and these guys are literally the example of raging for the machine. Like, listen to the government, do what they say, fucking get your shots, man. Wear the fucking mask.
You know why? Because y'all stop paying them. Y'all stop buying their music and shit.
Hello.
That's what I'm saying. That goes back to what I'm saying. Yo,
did they get too big or were they compromised from the start?
Nah, what their money look like. Follow the money.
It's the same thing I told you at the beginning of the show.
I make a crackhead say anything for $10.
When that receiver was a young man and he signed a contract at 21 for $21 million, yo, whatever you need, boss, I got you. I'm there. I'm here.
He said, all right, boy.
I'm with you. God did. Yo, I'm with you. But then when you get a few chips in your pocket, you get more understanding, you grow, and you start to shift. Like we all grow and shift. And I think that's kind of one of the things that happens.
I'm not starving him, I think.
Another example, let's talk about Tiger Woods, for example. I'm a married black man. I watch a ton of marriage material. Tiger Woods has been honestly like activist. He's been an activist for healthy marriages. Now, this is a man who was huge.
Do you think it's authentic? Does it feel authentic to you?
I absolutely think it's bullshit. But the reality of it is that I feel like he's a great connecting factor to a lot of guys who have been in those shoes, who made a shit ton of money, went through a terrible divorce, and now they're looking for somebody to connect with. But it's still activism. It's still a process or a point where a person is reaching out, trying to connect with different people. And whether it helps or hurts, it to me is irrelevant. I feel like activism is not all, let me help the kids. Some of it is, actively, what's the word? Exploiting, active exploiting.
So I think what AB did was activism. He started talking about they started exposing what's going on behind the scenes in the NFL. Like, nah, that's what they doing. This the industry. This what they on. I don't care. I got proof of it all. This the contract. This the text they sent me. They was faking this. They lie about that. Yeah.
How is that not? That's activism.
So that brings me to the final topic on this, or the final chapter of this topic. Well, strictly speaking, on the field, where do you guys feel the line is now? Because I mean, everybody's got their own causes, as we talked about through this whole thing. I believe in this, you believe in that. This is my cause, that's my cause. So if we all agree that activism has a certain place on the field, when the time's right, the moment's right, it needs to be done, but also agree that not every asshole's whiny cause is worthy of shutting the game down here for and painting the end zones. Where, in each of your opinion, is the line? Who decides? How does it get decided? And should there be rules in place on what is and isn't allowed, or should it always be about breaking the rules?
I think the line probably should be drawn at like they should take DeMar Hamlin jersey off the back of the ambulance. I think that's a lot. I think that's a good spot to go ahead on the etch that line on now. I don't think nobody need to be getting carted away in a DeMar ambulance. You know what I'm saying? That's too much. But I also say that I think that if you're gonna pander, let it be what it is. Like, I think everybody's gotta be transparent. We're getting to that point now where it's just getting too honest and too open. Sorry. It's past my bedtime. We're in the age of information, and everything is just becoming more open now. So about the exposure, you're not worried about all the exposing if things are clean. Like when they start talking about certain people being on certain lists, people who knew they wasn't on that list wasn't like, oh my God, I hope it ain't me. I know it ain't me. I didn't do that.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like when you kind of jump in and you do all the extras, you kind of making too much noise on something you say you don't believe in. Like the NFL can't be colorblind, but also be anti-racist, because then you got to see the color.
Yeah.
Right. Bro,
so back to the neutrality, you trying to rob a side.
That was a good one. Yeah.
So
I kind of feel like to me, the line should be drawn on field, off field. Like we talked about it earlier when Roe was like, yo, when I'm off, right? And the reason why I say this is because I don't believe like headbands or t-shirts that say Black Lives Matter. Yo, let's leave all that shit off the field, right? But after in the press conference, you asking me questions, yo, let them people talk the way they want to talk, right? Because now you're leaning in to that persona, that understanding, that person. And so I personally feel like a nice line is the actual most obvious line of all: on field, off field, on court, off court. Right? Like when we're on the field, let's not make hand gestures. Let's not walk in with the bands, with the helmet stickers. Let's not have the number on the towel. Oh, this is my grandma's number. Let's remove all of that, right? But if you do that, because people are gonna have to have a voice, allow them to have that voice at the press conference, out the field, on Twitter, on social media, right? One of the things that I think makes us different now than versus activism back then was the amount of eyes, right? The sheer number of reach that each athlete has now versus what they had then. It was very few athletes, in the let's talk 60s, 70s, and 80s that were able to reach people, just because it just wasn't as much access to information, right? We didn't have
especially on their own. Like they had to do it through the channels.
Right. It was really hard. You had to have a real machine behind you in order to grow popularity, or you had to have a crap ton of charisma, like Ali. Right. But if you think about it, guys like Joe Louis stood up. He was an activist. Guys like I'm trying to think of some of the older guys, Jesse Owens,
Arthur Ashe,
these
Jim
guys
Brown.
were activists too, but they weren't as brash about it. And so I just personally feel like now with all the eyes and social media, everybody has a platform. Everybody has something to say. You can't get away from it. Like we can't run from it. We have to give these people an opportunity to speak their piece or say their minds. I just personally believe the line should be stopped as it pertains to on the field, off the field.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do on the court, that needs to represent whatever you do for a living. When I'm with my client, and I represent them, so I have to present myself in a way that's representative of that. I feel like it's no different with the NFL, or NBA, or NHL, a Major League Baseball player. Once you on the field and you cross on that diamond with the Major League Baseball League, you represent that organization. Now, while you still represent them at the press conference, you may have something to say as it pertains to a political event. You may have something to say as it pertains to a catastrophe or an emergency catastrophe, right? Like we didn't talk about that, but nobody really, touches on.
Yeah, if you ask me a question, you ask me a question. If you wanted to talk and have something that represent the team, how the team felt, talk to the team manager and the owner. But right now, you ask me a question that said, "Yo, how you feel about it?" Hey, this is how I feel.
We gotta get with some of these players unions to start putting that in the contract. Which, by the way, that young receiver that I told you about, he actually had I had never seen this. He actually had a clause in his contract that basically said the opposite, bro, of what you're saying. It basically said under any team events, any team circumstances, somebody sticks a mic in your face, you represent the Houston Texans. And as a young man, I'm gonna sign that. But the Players Association the Players Union is supposed to help you come in and take that kind of language out of the contract. A lot of the newer contracts, for example, they don't have that kind of language.
Based on how you guys have defined activism tonight, the addendum question I'm going to ask you guys, this person would qualify as an activist. So I'm going to ask this question to end the night. How do you guys feel about Caleb Williams and the activism he's pursuing to start his young career?
You want me to take it, Ro?
Yeah,
so when you say activism, you mean his saying he's not going to play for the Bears?
Well, everything he's trying to do is trying to set a precedence that would change how the game is done and how it's played. So he's clearly an activist for this cause on redefining even just ownership percentage. You can't give players ownership. Fucking Jamarcus Russell already screwed up any discussion of that ever happening. But the audacity to think that this is how you're going to start your career and the demands you're going to make. He wants assurances that the Bears are going to trade the first round pick before he'll even come out as eligible to be drafted.
But when John Elway did it, it was amazing, right?
Right. I think all of that was bad precedences that led to this. I think
when
this
Eli
is
Manning
the next step further.
Phillip Rivers did it. It was cool.
No, I thought that was dumb too because it leads to this. It's always going to go one step further. It doesn't matter what color Caleb Williams is. There was always going to be some arrogant asshole that came along and said, "You know what? I'm taking it one step further." And inevitably it's always going to be one step too far. And for me, starting to demand other teams make trades and do all this, that, and the other thing, cater to you, and then wanting a percentage of ownership before you even come into the league. Imagine if that precedent was set.
Right.
What? How can that ever be done? What, every player that comes along forever is going to get a percentage now? And
they already, but Chris, you do understand that already happens. They already do when you join the Players Association. The Players Association gets a cut of ownership of the league revenue.
Does that holds this one piece of pie for all of those people that come through.
Right.
Bob, the fucking fullback, isn't on the cap table of the Oakland Raiders, and then this is worse than retiring names on the retiring jersey numbers. Eventually, you're going to run out of jersey numbers. Same thing with an equity pie on freaking an NFL team. I've got guys from 70 years ago that are on my fucking cap table now. What are you kidding me?
Man, look, I do agree that it sets the wrong precedents, but I have to admit, a player stepping up in that way and saying, "Hey, I dare to do something different." It's refreshing. I give it. I got to give him props. It's refreshing. Nobody thought we was going to have a fully guaranteed contract until Kirk Cousins did it. The reality is that you have to push the limit. Maybe he's shooting for the stars and he's actually trying to get much lower, right? Donald Trump does it all the time. It's one of my favorite things that he does. He'll tell you, I'm going to lasso the moon and pull that bitch in. He's really just trying to get a star. But he going to tell you, I'm going for the moon and try to pull it in a little bit less because it's easier to concede for something lesser.
The real world example of that being successful is Jordan getting royalties on his likeness and on the sneakers, his name being used on all that. That was unheard of when that happened.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like that's more tangible value of a product that is using your name and likeness on it. You absolutely should have a cut of that, and that's a right stand to take. I feel like the Caleb Williams stand is activism gone too far in the other way, where it's less activism and more egoism.
That's the big. You need to
Well,
hashtag that shit.
every action ain't activism. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm just standing up for I'm gonna get mine is also a valid part of that. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. You know what I mean?
He's actively trying to do that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna get mine. It's a real thing.
Yeah,
You know, that's a real thing. I can't mad at it. He might not even try to look out for young players. I'm gonna get mine. I don't know what y'all talking about.
I'm gonna get mine. Right. I think that's the hardest part of that conversation, though, Chris. Is like I ain't gonna never be mad at a young man trying to get the most he can get for himself, right? Because ain't nobody else gonna advocate for him. It doesn't hurt that he's a young black man because I can appreciate him trying to eat. With that said, I have to agree, bro. Come on now, you ain't played one snap. You making demands? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
And that's kind of where we can wrap up the activism. Is it? While there may be a lot of people that believe in a particular cause or a lot of different causes, it still comes down to individual choices of what you want to be an activist for, and not all those causes are other people going to find worthy or just fighting for, and you're going to end up on an island by yourself. And if we just let every asshole that steps onto a field bring their cause with them, it's gonna look like NASCAR out there real fast. All right, I'm gonna give each of you guys a chance to plug any interesting things you got going on. Roemello, first one up. You want to throw a social out there? Anything you got happening?
Sure, man. Y'all can follow me. Well, again, my name is Roemello. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all can follow me at Welcome to Rome. So that's all spelled out at Welcome, TOROME. I got a book coming out. So if you follow me, you'll get all the updates on that. I do stand up as well. You'll get those updates, and that's it.
Appreciate you joining the show, Roemello. Dave, what do you got?
Lost your sound.
We lost you there, Dave. Uh-oh. Right when it was your chance to be an activist for yourself. Man down.
Oh, we lost you.
You're muted right now. No. Oh, no, nothing. Bum, bum, bum. All right, well, Dave, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate it. Cowboy hat tip to you, buddy.
Stay in touch, man. Hey, CJ Stroud might do something, man. You never know.
Yeah, hit him up on the socials, Dave. We got nothing on you.
I know, man. Follow me, man. We got to stay in touch, man. Dave, you cool with me, man. All right, brother.
Dave's good people. Roemello, you got to get in the Madden League, bro. Telling you.
I'm mad, man. I play 2K. I like football. I just can't play it. But we'll talk. All right, brother.
All right.